Take two, guys. We're going to get there. Technical issues. Today I have an amazing special guest for you. His name is Anthony Trucks. He's built like a truck as well. He has had such an insanely tough life. Unbelievable. Given up at the age of 3 through foster care. Beaten, starved, tortured, his words, throughout his whole life. He was the only black person raised in a white family that adopted him. So he's been on both sides of the equation through white privilege and obviously Black Lives Matter. So I'm so excited to tweak and get to know him as we go. Let's see if we can add him on right now. This is going to be absolutely, feel it. NFL, ex-NFL. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out so good, and we're going to get his full story right now. American Ninja Warrior, all coming up in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, man?
Yes! Here he
I'm
is.
in
What's
here.
going on, brother?
Nothing much. I'm trying to get this one stupid thing done on my computer, and then I'm gonna
You
put it
you
down.
get that stupid thing done because I haven't finished my intro. You're so keen.
Oh, I'm ready. And hold on, 3, 2. I'm done. I got this keyboard. I just bought it, and
Dude, I love it.
somebody I
It's
bought it
awesome.
from apparently just had like sticky stuff on. Anyways, how you doing, man?
Well, cool, dude. I'm just giving you a slight introduction. Obviously,
I
I've done a
appreciate
little
it.
bit of research about you, and
Yeah.
it. One thing I absolutely love about you is you leave me in awe. So I'm looking at your life, looking at your story through your own words, through your website, through obviously interviews with Tom Bellew, which is pretty sick, very sick. That's one of my ambitions, and it's really cool because it's like you on your Instagram. There's a lot of Peter Dinklage on there, and
Mhm.
one of his quotes is, "If you own your flaws, then no one can harm you. They turn
No,
that into
man.
your armor."
You gotta do
Dude,
the 8 Mile thing that Eminem does. You gotta flip it on its head.
dude, exactly, 100%. And what I've noticed with you is you were so raw, and you just literally just, here's your heart. It's like, here you go, world. There's my heart, because
Yeah.
you admit, obviously, given up essentially at 3 years old. You were wet in the bed till you were like 14. You've openly said that, and
Yeah.
your wife had an affair. All these things, which is what I would think a very insecure man would want to hide. But you're
Mm.
like, there you go. And
Well, it's me. Because I'm not alone in all that. If you think about it, everybody's experiencing that, and nobody really openly shares a lot of it. So unfortunately, the society we live in continuously keeps recycling the same pain because nobody understands they're not alone in it, and so we don't seek help. We don't do anything to avoid getting there in the first place. So I share these things because it helps other people never have to experience them.
Yeah, and do you know what, buddy? I feel like I'm in a paradox because I do the same. I
Mhm.
feel as if I've lived a lesser uh, turbulent life than you.
Mhm.
You obviously, unfortunately, your wife had an affair with what she did, and I love how you take ownership on that. That's something that I've had to experience myself.
Yeah.
Um, but I was only with my partner for 5 years, and I was very scared to admit that. But I do admit that because I don't want people to go through that. However, am
Yeah.
I robbing them of that gift of struggle?
No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you never want to obviously rob somebody of their struggle because then they don't get a chance to experience it. But if you think about it, we can we can avoid the experience but still get the lesson, right? I think there's a unique thing in our society. Human culture has been built upon this. Is you read different things. Fire is hot. Don't jump into it. Like we learn these things. I don't really need to jump in the fire to learn that lesson. And so for a lot of people, yeah, there's some things that come with understanding that struggle, but there's still difficulty in doing it right. Like once I know what the wrong way is and I want to go this way, there is still struggle here. There's still difficulty. There's still hardships. I'm just saying, like, hey, you don't want to fall off that cliff because some people can't climb back up from it.
100%, 100%. Some people have to walk them past themselves,
Have
unfortunately.
to. Yeah, yeah. Some people do it. Some people like to be self-made. They like to go and run the race on their own, not ever buying a coach or hiring some help. And it's fine. I mean, some people need to do that, but I've never been a proponent of that. Like, I don't want to have to. If I can shortcut the process past the pain, I'd rather do that. That's how we're built as humans. The body's even designed psychologically, physiologically. The body's trying to find efficient ways to do things. So for me, like I am that efficiency for some people's lives, whether it's their marriages or their health or their business. It's really a matter of like, how do I get to the point of learning the lessons that I can apply to my life to get to success without having to have gone through every single deep, dark part of the struggle. But there is a necessity to navigating pain. It just doesn't have to be my pain.
Yeah, I hear you. It's almost as if, well, who can I learn from to get the shortcut?
Yeah, that's what we're all doing. It's people here, they tune in, they want to learn things, hear things. So we read books, we go to courses, we why we do everything we do. It's literally the world is built upon how can I do what I'm doing, but do it easier and faster. And that's just the desire for so many people. But the problem is people think in order to get that lesson, you have to have broke it yourself. Like that's why, if you think about manuals, like there's somebody who put together a manual of how to, work your computer and fix your car, like because you don't need to tear the thing apart yourself and try to put it together. Like there's a way to do that. It's still hard to do that. Even with a manual for doing something, it's not always the easiest to fix.
Mm.
And for a lot of people, they're not seeking the manual. They're just trying to tear things apart on their own. And so if we can get to the point of realizing it's not a bad thing to not be self-made. It's not a bad thing to seek help. It's actually what we're supposed to. We're built to do. We're built for communication, connection, relation. We're built for that. So if we just go with what we inherently are built to do, life gets much easier and you have greater success in it.
Yeah, 100%. So what's great is that I get people on here that I believe they're going to inspire kids, my audience, which is obviously I'm a confidence coach for kids. And if we can teach them those lessons without having to roll down that path, that's fantastic. However, there's so much new things that they have to endure. Dude, I wouldn't want to be a kid at this age now.
Different world, man. My son has a different dynamic.
What the fudge?
There's a new world, man. And the world we're in, I mean, it's a crazy thing. We created this dang thing. But that's every world. Every single level has, even my parents could probably say like, oh, you guys got this social. I don't want to deal with this social media world you live in. I wouldn't have made it here. Every single generation has always had the same statement to make because it's not that it's difficult. It's just that it's not my difficult. And I don't want, like they say, if everybody put their problems in the middle of a room, I'd take my problems back. Like it's just it's a generational level of that. Like, no, I don't want my son's problems. It's a different world. But like at the same capacity, like my parents didn't want mine. It's just the progression and nature of life.
And to be fair, will we want our parents?
No, I don't want my parents. No, it's just we know. That's the thing is we all as human beings are fairly addicted to the evil that we know. We're addicted to that struggle. I know this evil, even though I don't like it. It's the one I can learn to trust. Even I can trust its evilness, right? I can learn to understand this. I know this problem. I know this puzzle, and that puzzle, even though I might be able to solve it better, it might be easier to navigate. I don't want to take it on. Well, why would I take on an evil I don't know? I'm gonna take the evil I do know, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, like a lot of the work that I do, it's like, yeah. But what if you live without any evil? Like, what if we got to a point where we comprehended that like not everything has to have problems. You don't have to enjoy or find a way to be okay with your problems. Like you can eliminate those. It's not a bad thing. It's actually what we're trying to do, and that's how you get that freedom, man. Like that's how you get to that point of peace and joy in the pursuit of things to where I can openly share everything about me because like, all right, I've dealt with that evil. I've dealt with the evil of sharing something. I don't have to worry about carrying the weight of things that are just difficult to carry. I get them off my chest and I live my life.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's three common denominators that can actually obviously help children progress through this crazy ocean of social media and the world, which would be confidence, self-belief, and emotional control, I believe. And hard work ethic too.
Well, work ethic is paramount. And the thing is that if you have the work ethic, everything else you just talked about comes to bear, right? If I learn how to work hard to achieve, I will get that confidence. It's a natural byproduct of accomplishment. Like you don't jump in the lake and go, I hate jumping in the lake. I suck at this. I can never do it. No, you just did it. So of course you have some confidence for that, right? Yeah. And then I think there's that sense of like, how do you build that self-worth and all these things over time? And I think a lot of kids, man, in the world of what I do, like I don't coach kids, but I speak to a lot of kids. I just really done running the camp a couple weeks ago, 300 kids, and I'm sharing and talking and teaching. And I think the thing is unique is kids, as much as they're connected to each other, they're disconnected from the life experience of like their parents or of the world outside of their bubble. And everything is this picture perfect, hologram amazing worlds. They're so deeply connected, but then disconnected. And I think what happens is there's this massive comparison that makes me immediately feel like I'm not good enough and I'm not confident in self because I don't have the millions of followers. And I mean, I seriously, no lie, I get hundreds of messages a day. Can you post my stuff? Can you post it? I want to grow followers. And in my head, I'm like, man, why? Like, what is that going to do? But it's like this, that'll validate them. They'll feel good in the world they live in, right? So it's an interesting dynamic that's difficult, but kids can get that without having to be online. Also, you can get it at home, you can get it at school, you can get it in sports, you can get it by building your own statue in the corner of your room that nobody ever sees. As long as you got that, that'll help you operate differently.
Yeah, I always strongly believe in searching for internal validation as opposed to external every single time
Hmm.
because it lasts longer.
Yeah, it
You
does.
should
It's your own thing. You built it.
create create your own dopamine, create your dopamine hit. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And it's really it's quite important as well. That sometimes I have a struggle when I'm coaching kids is to speak to parents and I almost as if to say I want your kids to make mistakes and screw up and almost hurt themselves, but not hurt themselves really, but go through
Hmm.
that endurance, go through that struggle because no one is ever going to teach them that. They have to teach them that themselves.
No, yeah, they say a smooth sea makes not a skilled sailor. If I don't ever go out in
True.
the ocean, then I can't. I don't know how to navigate the ocean. What's problematic is a lot of people don't have problems as a kid, and they get older and they have way more responsibilities, and something goes wrong because they don't know how to emotionally navigate it or manage it. They shut down, and all the responsibilities come tumbling downhill. They lose their relationship, their job, their health. Everything goes out of the window. Bad parents. Where it's like, as kids, if we can let them understand how to navigate hardship, how to have weird conversations, how to have hard conversations, that you give them a skill set that when this happens up here, it doesn't stop them. And so we need them to go through them so that they can in fact navigate those hard problems. I was in a yesterday I was in a flight coming back home from Austin, Texas, and it's a really weird situation. And for me, like this is a great expression of how the world is, and I think it's a problem. I'm sitting in like the aisle, and we're supposed to wear masks. And I'm talking to my wife, who's in the middle row next to me. Nobody in the window. The aisle's next to me. There's an open seat in the next aisle. There's a window, or there's an open middle row, and someone's in the window. A guy in the window. He's a little bit away from me. He's not super far, but like he's a distance away. And I'm talking to my wife, and all of a sudden, I happen for some reason look up to the left because I feel the flight attendant here, and I see the guy pointing at me, going, "Mask, like mask," and like telling her. Then she flips around. It's like, "Hey, sir, you put your mask on," because you know it was. And I was like, "Yeah." And I put it on. I look at him like, "Did you just ask the flight attendant to come and ask me to put my mask on?
Do it
You're
yourself,
four
bro.
you're 4 feet from me." I said, "You couldn't just ask me." Well, I didn't know if I could. I was trying to, I couldn't get your attention. You were looking the other way. I'm talking to you right now. Like you can't. That's not. You just lied to me now. Like I wasn't mad, but I'm like, you got to be able. I was like, dude, you can just ask me. Like, well, it's her job to enforce it, and I'm like, there's no need for enforcement. You could have just asked another human being a question. Like, I know a mask's supposed to be on. It just slipped my mind. Hey,
Yeah.
sir, you might put your mask on real quick. Be cordial. But it's like that's the world we live in. This guy couldn't communicate with somebody who was 4 feet from it. Had to get an enforcement officer in his mind to enforce this rule. Like, dude, just talk to other human beings. It was, and I said, I was like, you couldn't just talk to me, like you couldn't. Well, I'm not talking to you, sir. Like, okay, all right, this is just. But that's so. When I look at that, I'm like, man, this guy, he lives in a world where he's in an airplane with other people, and he's worried about the mask. Like, probably shouldn't travel, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't talk to another human being. Like, this is a bottled up thing. So what ends up happening? It's like, dude, how do you live in that world? How do you operate in that capacity where you're fearful of everything, you can't communicate to anybody? Like that's what our kids are going to grow up into. Because this guy grew up in a world where he just had to tuck away and be small. And I have pity for the experience that he might have of life. Not that I'm sure he has, but he might have. If that's how he interacts and operates, it's just a small existence. And like I looked at it, I was like, man, it would suck if my kid did that. Like not because they're not a tattletale thing, but if my son couldn't, or my daughter couldn't speak to someone with just regular words and a calming tone and have a communication, like that's a problem. And our society misses out on so many of these things because parents rob their kids of these hardships and experiences. So they never understand how to use these tools they need later on. And they wonder why kids can't get jobs, they can't hold jobs, they can't deal with hard things, like because they've never done it and they never want to do it. If they've got through without having to do it, what makes them know they should do it now? There's an avoidance factor. So we avoid all the hard things, and it steers us completely clear of anything great we can have in life.
Yeah. It's avoiding the struggle because it's too painful. Massively surrounding fear of judgment or
Yeah,
just fear in general. So with yourself as well, you've grown up with, I believe, fighting all your life.
yeah.
You've grown up fighting for the entirety of your
Well,
life.
yeah, literally and figuratively been fighting for
Well, yeah,
years.
because obviously your NFL career, I think you mentioned something. You had the physical skill, but you didn't. I don't know if you had the actual the skillage it took to do that, and you
In the
fought.
beginning, no.
No one's getting this ball. This is my ball. You ain't getting it, and you've
Yeah,
been fighting.
definitely. Yeah.
And
It's kind of, yeah, it's fighting for myself. Yeah.
yeah, and so the point I'm making is when you What's been your biggest battle? The fight against other people, or the internal fight against yourself for when you've had to go through a lot of forgiveness in your life?
Man, there's a lot of that. I think part of it's forgiveness, but part of it's fighting to, and people may be able to relate to this. Is interesting. So the forgiveness thing was a difficult thing in the beginning to figure out. But I think what I also battled massively at times is the battle internally with the fact that I do deserve more and should go after it.
Mm.
And that may be a simplification of what the true emotion of it is. But I find there's a lot of people, myself have been here as well included, where there's this thing that I want to go after, but there's a dead set weird, I can't even verbalize sometimes the fear that comes with, what does my life look like when I don't have these problems? What does my life look like when it's just all joy? What if I lose that thing? Should I have that? Like, I've made a mistake. Do I deserve that? And if I don't think I do, like, we'll fight what we think we deserve. And so if I don't think I deserve this thing, I don't fight for that next big goal. And people don't even realize it, but it comes in a form of procrastination, of excuses, it shows up in that way because it's passive. It's simple. We can manage that. When you truly check in with it, it's like, you might not really think you deserve that promotion. It's why you don't get it. It's why you self-sabotage in ways you aren't even completely aware. It's just, you'll find that there's a difficulty in going and asking that girl for a phone number, or asking that guy out on a date because I don't, am I good enough? I've been bad in relationships in the past. And these things pop up that we're completely unaware of. And so there's some interesting dynamics, I think, to our brain. But for me, it's like the aspect of forgiveness was really hard. But the aspect of being the foster kid who was given away, who didn't feel like he mattered in any way, to believe that he should be in the NFL or should have a good marriage or should run a business or should speak, that was a big battle. To give myself true permission and legit lean into it.
But dude, what gave you that essence to do that? Because there's kids in your position all around the world, and they
Yeah.
haven't battled. You did.
Yeah.
What was your
Uh,
turning point?
It was it's not always a massive. I think people want things to be a massive, like, oh, this is the one thing this on this specific date this happened, and all of a sudden, and we need to have
Yeah.
this massive catalyst. And I don't think we need a massive catalyst. I think that's a falsehood that we run into and think we got to have this moment we can go back to and say, here's why it changed. But I think the reality was I woke up one day and I didn't like how I felt. I think that can be as simple as it needs to be for a lot of people. There's somebody watching right now who, if they just stopped and checked in, they could be like, I don't like this. Like, I really don't like this. I got to do something different. And it's not that you have to make a mass. I'm not saying go to your job and quit your job. I'm not saying, leave that relationship. I'm not saying, trash the food in your house and get healthy. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, however, is you got to find a way to realize like there's going to be a long journey of daily things I do that are the battle. That's the fight. It's not a singular punch. It's the little, little punches in between, little by little, that eventually knock this monster down. And essentially what it is, it's like I got to a point where I didn't like how I felt. And I was like, what could I do today instead of being, in the right direction? I'm gonna do that thing. And then I still had the thought of like, but should you? Like, the imposter syndrome is there, but you only way you alleviate that is by giving yourself a belief in the opposite. And the belief comes through minute, consistent actions. I just keep doing things, and what happens is over time, like I'm able to now look back and say, for the last 2 weeks, this has been me. Like, I'm gonna fight for this last 2 weeks, guy, and then it turns into 2 months. This has been me. I'm gonna fight for this last 2 months, guy. This has been 2 years, 2 decades. What happens is it's the minute things over time where eventually, like you're asking, what was that big thing? It was just every day I wanted to not let yesterday's Anthony down. And it's been going now for a couple decades. It's like every day I want to show up, and I have my hiccups, man. I fall short. Like, I'm human, and it's like, dude, I give that guy grace from yesterday. Let's get back to work today, right? I don't want to have all the rest of it be for not. So we don't need these massive catalyst moments. We just simply need to be like, all right, done doing this. What's one thing I can build upon so that little by little I'm tearing every thread out of the towel or the blanket or the tapestry of this thing in front of me that I think is a truth of I suck, I'm not good enough, I don't fit. You just tear it down thread by thread. You don't rip it off the wall. And those threads are days upon days upon days. And after a while, it's like that no longer exists in me because I've over time built this guy. And I'm just showing up every day for that guy.
You've shifted me. You've shifted me because I always believed in I need to beat my yesterday self. You've just said you need to make your yesterday self proud.
All day.
Dude, that's which I've been beating myself up recently, thinking, what have I achieved? Or, what have I done this? Or why have I done this? And I've had to, my girlfriend had to tell me, dude, baby, you've done this, you've done that, you've done a book, you've been in parliament, you've done da 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 da
Mm.
da da da,
Yeah,
and I'm still giving myself a hard time.
we do.
Um,
We do
so
these weird inset things. You know, what's funny is we will focus heavily. You ever heard of the Dove study? Dove did like they had two people come in, two women would come in front of a sketch artist. One woman would describe the other woman to the sketch artist. Then one woman would describe herself to the sketch artist, describing the same woman. And they would have the person draw it up. They both come back to the room. They had like three or four couples do this, or different people. And the person would describe themselves as always this horrible, horrendous, ugly person. I got this blemish here, and I got a pimple here, and my lip does this thing. Because all we saw was the negative, whereas the friend always described it as beautiful. Like the picture was always beautiful because other people see better things in us than we do.
yeah,
And it's interesting because the problem is, although they see the good things, they can't build our life.
yeah,
So if we, again, we will only fight for what we deserve. There's a reason why, people like who are like A-list celebrities don't marry, homeless people. Like I'm just too good, that I don't deserve that. I deserve something more, right? Which is interesting. Like even in relationships, your primary person who you choose is a barometer for how you hold your self-worth, because we
100%.
see what you think you have, right? So the same thing occurs in business and in life. And so the job you have, the money you have, we're seeing transparently how you hold your self-worth, because
Mm,
you are settling for what you think you deserve.
mm,
And part of you has always seen the blemishes of that picture and all the problems. Therefore, you don't think you deserve more. So no wonder why you don't go after more. No wonder why you sit there and just do your thing and you procrastinate and get excused. Because what if I have success and everybody thinks I'm this person?
imposter.
And it's exactly, so I don't want to be that person. I don't want to have success and I'm only this person. I don't want to be seen. So I hide and I tuck and I do things that make me feel comfortable and safe. I procrastinate. I don't write the book. I don't go out, right. I don't get to that next level stretch. So for you, this is for all of us, self included. There's a tier you're trying to go to, and I don't know what that tier is for you, but for some reason, wherever you've been, there's a thought of that's what I deserve, when the reality is there's something higher above all of us. There's a Gay Hendricks, the book called The Big Leap, talks about the upper limit syndromes that
Yeah,
a lot of us have. It's the same concepts, no matter how high you are. I mean, billionaires have these issues too. It's like there is that thing that we don't see that's tucked away somewhere that is forcing us, without us even knowing it, to not want to step into this next tier because we only think that we're here, we deserve this. And sometimes it's based on what I've achieved and what I haven't achieved. When really it's like nothing to do with that. Because what you achieved is not you. It's just the fruit of the tree. Like that thing you achieved is a fruit, right? If you
yeah,
think about the fruit, and some people, they are the fruit, and the fruit comes off the tree and it withers and dies. And I wither and die. I lost a job, lost a relationship, identity crises. And for a lot of times, like people have these things happen, they shut down completely. But the truth is, at the end of the day, when I get to the level of looking at this whole picture, like I am not the fruit. I am the tree. I created that fruit. If I want more fruit, I got to tend to the roots, prune the branches, do that work of the tree, and the fruit just starts coming bigger, bolder, sweeter, right? And so a lot of people are stuck worrying about that fruit. I want the fruit to die. Bro, forget about the fruit. Tend to the tree. It'll produce amazing fruits.
that's amazing. 100%. I just don't want to play small. I don't want a small existence. So it's
No,
just like,
neither.
am I fighting enough? Am I thriving enough? Am I getting there? Do I need
Mm.
to have some breakdown to have a breakthrough? Obviously not.
Yeah, I
Obviously
don't,
not.
I think sometimes I don't think you have to. I think it's not a full breakdown, man. It's a matter of checking. That's why coaches are a big thing. Like there's always, like when we're in the game, when we're in, like I played football, professional football, right?
Yeah,
In the NFL, like I was on the highest levels of football in the world. I had a coach though, and the coach couldn't do what I could do. Like a coach couldn't run like I could, hit. This is who couldn't do it. But he saw the field. He helped
yeah,
me do what I did better, right? And so sometimes people got to step in and be like, yeah, I saw the ball go here. Yeah, yeah, but you didn't see it. You could have known better if you went this direction or that direction. No, no, but I got there. No, you could have got there faster had you done this. You could be faster if you lift this weight. There's people that see the field. And so what happens when we're in the trenches, we're playing the game, we think we're killing it because
mm,
I'm out here making plays. But then you go watch film, and the coach is like, yeah, you made the play, but if this would have happened, you'd have been screwed. Ah, okay. Like, so you can see things differently. So I think we all have to be able to pull that ego down a little bit, and then we'll find that the next level of what you want, it comes to that next tier of like being able to see things and lean into stuff that we don't even know to lean into yet, that we don't even see, because we are not the best coaches for ourselves, unfortunately. We
no,
can
you're
hold
not.
ourselves accountable. I think we can hold ourselves accountable for a lot of things, but accountable just means I'm sticking to whatever I have on this piece of paper here. But
Yeah,
we need someone to put more in the paper for us to stick to that scares the dog crap out of us, because the
yeah,
next level of what you want doesn't come at the next, hour of work, 2 hours of work. It comes at the next level of who you are.
yeah,
Who is the person who has all the things that I want, and how do they operate? And when I get to that tier, now it's like I feel the same, but now I'm spinning so much more up. And that's, if you think about the separation, look at anybody, it's crazy successful. Like, I've been in rooms of people who are ridiculously wealthy, ridiculously successful, high level athletes. And it's interesting. I listen to the words, but I don't interject. I just listen sometimes. And the things they say, how their brain works, is so outside of mine. And it's transparent to me. I'm like, wow, they're not in here talking about, I gotta set aside another hour for my lift, and I gotta do this. It's like the thought process of what's possible and what they do. It's like, I put myself in their shoes. Like, that would scare the dog crap out of me to try to do that right now, right? But it's just the way that they think and operate. And so when I hear that, I'm like, all right, how do I get Anthony to shift to that mentality, to that identity, to where I just say stuff like that? Like, that's just what I do, And it's like, and then I start seeing the things that need to be added to the paper. Right now, I'm like, okay, that's what I got to add to the paper. That's what I got to stretch into. I don't do that now. And then it starts tweaking who you are, because now when you start adding it to the paper, you're like, all right, I already felt like this was a lot. I had nothing else. Now, okay, well, how do I get that in there? I got to start adjusting how I operate, how I see things, how effective I am, how much I got to start adjusting things to be able to fit this in to where it works within who I am hour-wise. And that's kind of the identity stuff, is when we become that human that now becomes second nature, because who we are now isn't who we were 5 years from now. Like 5 years ago, Anthony would not even be able to touch the productivity and efficiency of who today Anthony is. He wouldn't. Only way it happens, because I always get to this point of saying, all right, damn, okay, I'm already feeling like I'm maximized, but I know what I'm hearing at that next level, I got to do this, this, and this. I can sit there and make an excuse about how I can't do that, and I'll always and forever want that, never have it. Or I can say, how do I make what I'm doing now easy so that I can add this to the product, so I can make this, and I just consistently do that? How do I stretch myself and elongate my capabilities and my skill sets, or my effectiveness, or my delegation? How do I keep getting that point of embracing that suck a little bit, and then make the suck normalcy to where it doesn't even feel like suck anymore, but I'm still spinning at a faster pace? Like, that's what I've been doing for years. That's how people progress, no matter who you are. Some take big leaps, some take small climbs, but that's how the successful people get successful.
Yeah, it's awesome. Einstein had a theory about the fear of the unknown. The more we know, the less we know. If we have everything we have, if everything we know is in a circle, then what we're aware of is on the perimeter. We're aware of, but we don't actually fully know just yet. Come back at 5 years from now, that circle has grown because you've learned it, but because the circle's grown, there's more stuff you don't know. For example, it could be being a helicopter pilot. I know nothing about that, but if I go on a helicopter pilot, I come back now a year later, all these controls, all the different types of helicopters, but you've got to take those incremental, tiny little steps towards your own success and what you want to achieve.
That's it. Yeah, I agree.
100%. Before we go, Duke, because I know that you're a very active man, one final question. I had loads of questions, but one final question. What I want to say is, if your, let's say, 10-year-old self met you now, would he see him as a role model, and what would he say?
Yeah, 100% he would. So people always ask, who would I like to meet? And I would always like to meet future Anthony. And the reason is because future Anthony, I would like to know if he's proud of who I am now, right? First piece of it. But then also, like, I think his perspective of me would be one I'd understand. I've realized that I'll never understand anybody else's brain like my own. I'll never get my wife, and I love her to death. I'll never get yours. Like, I may have great conversations, right? But to really get to the depths of understanding, you need to have all the little pieces of experience that lead to the conscious and subconscious reactions and actions and thoughts and habits. And it's a filter I'll never grasp. So for me, I've always wanted to live in a way that makes that future guy proud consistently, right? And so I definitely look back at the younger me and say, am I doing that now for that guy? And 100% I am. I think the way that I have progressed and pushed myself into so much discomfort with the purpose of not finding comfort in it, but finding joy in that discomfort. Like, that's what allows me to be able to be successful what I do. I think when people say you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, they miss out on the real truth of the depth of that statement. Comfort is different in a sense of, like, people say, let's say discomfort. Discomfort is essentially those things you got to do to get to the success you want, or you're already doing it, which we do already have it. So there's something you don't do, you find discomfort, and even if it's waking up early, catching a workout, eating health, there's discomfort. And the thing is, people say get comfortable being uncomfortable, but like, it's kind of it's heard as just be okay with discomfort. Just
Mm.
get to be okay with it. Which, if you think about what you're okay with, you're trying to find ways to not do it still. Like, I'm okay with this dog on my lap, but I really want this dog off my lap, right? Or if I think about comfort, when I think comfort, I think like, the wintertime fireplace, hot cocoa, my kids are here watching the movie. It's like this settled in, even say I feel that warmth of like, this feels good. That's comfort. And I enjoy that. And I want to have this endure for me in a positive way. So when I think about success and that aspect, that comfortable being uncomfortable is I need that kind of comfort feeling with discomfort. And when you have that kind of comfort feeling and you embrace it, you enjoy it because you do learn lessons, you understand your limits, you're stretching yourself, you know it comes from this next level of owning this and learning this. Now we have a different tier. And so that 10-year-old kid, like, I'd like him to look at this guy and think he is finding discomfort, but having a great deal of true comfort with it. And that's how I continue to keep living my life and teaching that. Like, that's how it rolls, man. Because there's things you do that you enjoy doing that people go, how the hell do you do that? Why did you? It's like torture, but I love it. I love doing it, right? That's why you're successful at that thing. The next tier of all of us is going to be, what's that thing I have discomfort in that I know will get me there, that I can find a way to be incredibly at peace and find palpable comfort in.
Yeah, which brings us back to the beginning of our conversation with Peter Dinklage. I believe be comfortable with your uncomfortable, with your insecurities, because then no one can harm you. You can power through this world with your head held high and just own it and find your own path all day.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude. Listen, I know I've stolen a few more minutes over time.
Oh, we're good.
Dude, I want to say that I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on and giving me your time today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
There's been all the love in here, all for you.
It's awesome.
So, dude, I really appreciate you. Thank you for your time. You've got an absolute avid fan here, and so many more that's just joined. I'm almost positive.
Thank you.
Dude, Karen, being awesome. I'm going to follow you closely.
I will. I'll follow you as well, man. Appreciate having me on. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. This is another way you're doing things to help the world with just by bringing people on like this, man. So keep doing it, bro.
Can't play small. Cool. Cheers, bro.
Cheers. Take care.
Later, bro. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for that.